Okay, this is probably one of the coolest things ever. But what's going on, everybody? Jeremiah here from Babble My Backyard, a pond and garden channel packed full of informative how-to videos for you. In today's video, we're creating this guy, which really sucks in a good way. You might think, well, what's this thing have to do with pond and gardens? Well, when we first learned about this, it was to seal and store seeds, but you can also use it to store other things, other grains or dried goods, coffee beans, and keep it fresh for a longer period of time. Often I'm learning from others something that they're doing, some tool that they're using that I really think is neat, and this is no different. I learned about this tool from Echo Global Farm in Fort Myers, Florida, and if you haven't seen those videos, you can check those out. It'll be up in the corner here. One of the things that they had for seed storage is a bike pump that they had modified to create a vacuum, and then they're using jars like these to seal and remove all the oxygen from inside. In the video with Echo, they were using a full-size bike pump, which you can do. I happen to have a couple ball pumps sitting around. That's what happens when you have kids, you accumulate things. So today we're going to show you how to build this. It's not very complicated. It's an easy build. You probably have something laying around if you're like me and you don't get rid of things. I have this oregano now that I've harvested, and I want to seal it all up. Just need a jar lid, a regular jar lid for these jars. I pop a hole in it. I'm going to put this tape on, but I'm not sealing it down. I'm just pushing it on one edge. I put my seal on there, which you'll see in a minute. I press this down, and then I start drawing the air out. It'll become difficult to pull this air. And then once that happens, I can push this down, and now I've got a sealed jar. It's not going anywhere. That'll stay on there just like that for however long until I pop that free. Super awesome. Now let's get into the build. First thing I gotta do is figure out how to take this thing apart. The back cap back here is glued in, and I'm not sure that it's going to help me out too much anyways. Ultimately, I know I have to cut the one end off, so I may just jump into doing that. When I cut this off, I do need to make sure that the piston is pulled back all the way. So you can see this rod is pulled out. That means the piston's not going to be interfering down here at this end when I'm sawing and I don't cut the piston. Next, I gotta get this thing deburred. I do want to make sure it was nice and flat. If it's not flat, I should sand it flat before I do the deburr work, but it does need to be flat so that it will get a good seal. So pulling this thing out, I can see that the piston is attached. It's actually all one piece with the rod. So I'm going to have to cut the piston off. Now I'll go ahead and deburr all these pieces. I'm going to attach this piston with a screw now, so I need to drill a clearance hole for the screw to fit through. You got to be very careful when you drill a hole through this. It will grab. It's going to be very difficult not to have it grab, so just make sure you're holding it, and then if it starts to grab, let go. See, it pulled it right out of my hand, and then I'm just going to manually pull it off of that drill. Now how this piston works is it's got these reliefs on one side and not on the other side. So the relief side allows air to move through. The opposite side does not allow air to move through. So the relief side was facing down towards the ball. So that means when I push the air down, it grabs the air from this solid side up here and allows the air to pressurize and push down. But when I pulled back, the relief on this opposite side allowed the air to move through and didn't catch on the seal. So I need to just flip this piston around so that it works the same way, just the opposite direction, creating a vacuum. So the next thing I gotta do is drill a smaller hole for the screw to clear the minor diameter into the end of the rod. So before, this was attached just like this. Now I'm gonna flip it around and put a screw on it through here. But first I'm going to put it back through the cylinder so that I don't have to take it back apart before putting it together. Now for the test. Perfect, I got suction. So on these jars I have to have a hole through the lid, so I'm just using regular jar lids, popping a hole through, and that'll be ready for when I move to that part. I also need a seal. My kids always have flat tires on their bikes, so it's pretty easy to get a tube. So once I get this tube, then I can cut out a seal. Just gonna cut a section of this. Now I gotta cut that diameter out. Once I get the shape right, I'll cut the inside diameter out. And I'm left with what looks kind of like a donut. So again, I need the Scotch tape, and I'm just going to take a little piece, put it onto the jar without fully pushing it down. I just want it to be touching on a little bit on the end. Then I'm going to put the seal over the top of the tape, hold pressure down onto the lid with the pump, and start vacuuming the air out of the jar. I got a good vacuum, it's good and solid on there, and let's just take a listen to see how solid it really is sealed. We're going to do a jar of coffee beans next. It's always nice to be able to keep your beans more fresh. Perfect, it's nice and sealed. Those beans will be good until I decide I'm going to open them up. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Don't miss any of the wonderful videos we always have coming on this channel, including the origin of this. You can go check out that. It'll be popping up here at the end, or it'll be in the link in the description below. But there's all sorts of cool ideas that we gained from them that we actually want to do more videos like these to show you how to build something. So if you want, check those out. But until then, we'll see you in one of those videos.